the funny story I was telling you guys that's odd is that it actually, refrigeration goes way back in my family, because my grandfather used to send my dad and him, they would go out on the river, on the Hudson River, and saw chunks of ice, blocks of ice out, and put them onto their horse-drawn carriage, which they would bring in, their horse-drawn wagon, they would bring into the basement of their house, and they would stack the ice up and then cover it with straw. And they sold ice because there was no refrigeration back then. So they would go down the street with a wagon, and people would yell out the window and say they needed ice, and they'd say, you know, do you need 5 pounds or 50 pounds? Because the block was 50. And my dad would tell these stories of how people would say they needed 50, and he'd carry a full block all the way up, no elevators, so 5, 6, 7 flights of stairs. And they said, oh, I only want 5 pounds, thinking that he would give them the 50 at a cheaper price. So he'd have to carry the 50-pound block all the way back down and give them a chip off another one, because they didn't want to chip too many blocks because they melt too fast. So that was his story, you know. And then in the summer they would get up early because they couldn't, once the ice had all melted, they had stored from the winter. In the summer they get up earlier and they go to the actually back then it would have been ammonia water absorption ice plants. That's how they used to make ice before we had vapor compression systems. It was an ammonia water absorption system. They would go there, wait online for ice from the ice plant. They had to get there early because the ice plant would run out of ice. And then again, they went down the street. But he really enjoyed it. He would tell stories about how when his grandfather went into the speakeasies, he would sit outside and wait for him, and sometimes it would be quite a long wait. And when they went into the delicatessens, the delicatessen guy would give him ice cream, a little sample of ice cream, which, you know, was a big deal back then when nobody had freezers and refrigeration. So yeah, it kind of goes way back in the family business, I guess. And then, of course, when I was in college, I worked as an air conditioning tech. So it was a great job. I had all the bars in Troy, New York, where I went to school. I went to RPI, so I had all the bars there, and they thought I was great because, you know, the keg would get warm or something. They'd call me. It didn't matter what time. I'd run down there. I'd get it fixed. It was usually a bad capacitor, low on charge, something really simple. They thought I was a god. So then when I went on the weekends drinking down there, I didn't have to pay for anything. Everything was free because, oh, he's our air conditioning tech. He keeps our air conditioning refrigeration running. Don't charge him anything. So it was great. It was a great business. Well, you know, we were making energy conversion thermal control devices for the military. So we were looking at high heat flux cold plates, vapor compression systems, and we started to see holes in the quick market, in the HVAC market. We started to see places where, wow, they don't have a tool for this, or they don't have a device for this, and these guys are having to do this. And we just started making sort of where the white space was. Like if you think about QuickCheck, there were people who were actually trying to take the oil out of a system and test for acid in the refrigerant. But the problem is, a small refrigeration system like a home refrigeration system, or even a heat pump in your house or an air conditioner, they don't have oil drains, so you can't take the oil out. So here these guys have a test kit that tests for acid using oil, but they can't get the oil out, so we invented QuickCheck. All the products are like that. I mean, the latest one, when you think about QuickSwap, we talk about QuickSwap, well, it was outrageous that a tech would have to go to a house, the blower's bad, on a 10-year-old unit, have to tell an owner, oh, your blower, which the motor used to cost me $70, is blown, and I'm going to spend $800-900 for the part. It's going to take 3 or 4 days to get here, and I'm going to have a $800-900 service fee as well. So it's going to cost you $16 grand, $2 grand to fix a blower, and then they're going to think that the tech is ripping them off. He's not. It's the OEM that was ripping the tech off, you know. So we developed this product that you could take an inexpensive motor and use our board, and instead of costing $800 or $900 in parts, you're getting away with maybe $250, $200 in parts, actually close to $250 in parts. So the whole idea was to try to get products that techs needed, not to compete, not to just make another soap or not to make another coil cleaner, but to make something that was better than anything that was out there. Some days I'll think I have very little to do and I'll end up working here till 8, and other days I think I'm really busy and things will get cleared out. You almost have to just come in and see what's going to hit you for the day. Most of the day I try to deal with the engineers in here and working with them, because at the end of the day I'd rather be an engineer than a president of the company. So I tend to keep my hands pretty much in the engineering. As you know, we've been growing at well over 10%, really close to 20% every year since we started. So we keep growing, it's an exciting time because if you look at the at the HVAC marketplace, you've got this tremendous consolidation. You have these big firms that are really just what's the word for? They're really just shells by investors in New York. So these investors in New York are buying up companies and grouping them together. So you have one or two or three sort of quote manufacturers that the people running it don't know anything about the HVAC business, and they're not even manufacturers. They just buy the stuff from China and stick a label on it and sell it here. So it's kind of an exciting time because we make everything in the U.S. and we engineer everything in the U.S. and we're run by people who understand the industry. So I think there's going to be even more opportunities for places where they're doing things an old way and we have a new way. I mean, the two patents I was telling you about are specifically, I can't talk about them because the products aren't out yet, but they are two new products to do something a way that's different. And the industry's been doing it the other way for as long as I've been alive. So a huge opportunity now, and the opportunities are actually getting better because the competition's getting weaker because they're conglomerating all of these companies that had some great products. They're getting bought by these giant investment groups who don't care about the technology. They just want to make a return on their investment. People ask me if I'm going to retire, and I say I'm never going to retire. I'm having too much fun. I mean, I get to work with 50 or 60 or 70 really talented engineers with all kinds of facilities, with another 40 or so talented production people and finance people. I mean, so I get to come in and it's like a giant playground. It's like when I was a kid, I had a erector set, right? This is like the giant erector set. I want something built, the shop can build it. We want a new product, the production can make it. I get an idea in my head, or somebody else gets an idea in their head. We sit down, have a cup of coffee, and in a few minutes, we've got a new product being developed. We got a marketing department go out and say, hey, will the techs buy this? We have people who can go to the techs and say, hey, if we gave you this, you'd be interested. So it's a fun place. I mean, why would anyone want to leave that kind of job? It's really fun.